and welcome to Jrock's Babylon. I'm your host, Jason Jrock Houston, and our guest today is Eric Haynes, veteran and musician and all-around animal lover, which we're going to get into, and a writer, I should say, because you have a book coming out called Coming Home. Can you tell us when the book comes out and talk a little bit about the book?
Sure, Jason. Thanks so much for having me. J-Rock listeners, I know there's a new program, so I'm pretty excited that I'm one of the first guests. Yeah, it actually comes out November 11th, 2025, which is Veterans Day.
Oh,
It's
wow.
going to be on Amazon. Yeah, it's going to be on Amazon. It's going to be ebook as well as paperback. And what I it, it's a journey. It's our journey. Basically, um, I had a military service dog. She used to be a bomb sniffing dog in the special forces before she was my service dog. And she used to be on stage with me. I'm actually a singer songwriter as well. And she used to be on stage with me. She used to go everywhere around the country with me. We would speak on PTSD, we'd speak on suicide. We'd also sing and songwrite about it. And after a couple of years, she made an impact on everybody that she met and everybody that we come in contact with. And people started telling me, they kept on saying to me, Eric, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. And finally, I'd say just prior to COVID, I actually said, you know what? I'm going to actually put this in motion, and we did. So it's been a long journey, but it's one that is so worth it, and I'm so glad I did it. It's one of 3 to 4 books that are going to be in this series because there was so much to tell. I couldn't tell it all in one
In
book.
fact, Eric, I got to tell you and the folks that are going to be watching this that I already know I'm going to have you come back because there's not enough time to talk about everything. So, and I got to be honest, our mutual friend Tom, who set up the interview, he's the one that told me about you. And so, in preparation for the interview, I had a small window of time to kind of skim the book. But I wanted to
Sure,
focus.
sure.
The part of the book I wanted to really focus on was the part about Ciarra, because I got to tell you, I'm such a dog lover myself. I got 3 dogs
That's
myself,
awesome.
and so first question is, were you always a dog lover? Or did you become more of one once you met Ciarra?
No, I've been a dog lover my whole life. I've had dogs. My family, my father, we used to live in the country. I grew up in Pennsylvania. We used to live in the country, and we'd go hunting and fishing, and we'd always have a lot of times we'd have beagles. Most of our dogs were beagles, with the exception of we had German Shepherd, and his
Okay.
name was King. So yeah, I've been a dog lover all my life. I've had dogs all my life. I have 2 still now. I just lost one about 2 months ago. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. And part of the book that really stood out to me that got my attention right away was um, the introduction when you first kind of briefly tell the story of the first day you met Ciarra, and it was immediate, like immediate kinship, immediate was my best friend. I knew we had a connection. Talk a little bit about that because
Yeah, that was incredible. In fact, that I wouldn't be here today had I not met her. That was the day that changed the whole trajectory of my life. Um, I had, like I said earlier, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I had gotten invited down to Georgia. At that time, I was living up north, and I got invited to a ranch in Georgia with she's a Grand Ole Opry Hall of Famer, and she's a Bluegrass Hall of Famer, Louisa Branskin.
wow.
And she had heard my song. I had connected with her through a friend, a long story, but I connected with her, and she invited me down. They had one slot, and she said, I'd love for you to come down. Well, at that time, I was really, I mean, I was at a rough spot in life. I was actually in a domestic violence shelter because I had left my ex-wife, and we had it was just really rough right then.
Uh,
And I said, you know what? I said, uh, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And that ended up being the way I went. So I went down there. I get out of the car, and this lady sees me. She's parking her cars, and she calls me over, and she asks me. Um, she says, Eric, do you know any veterans? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a veteran. Why? And so she starts telling me. She says, I have this Belgian Malinois. She said about 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember the exact years. And she said a couple years ago, she said I got this Belgian Malinois, and she said at that time, in all reality, she said I just got her because, I was going to train her, and she said, but I was going to train her as a service dog, but only just because Malinois are so smart. She understood four different languages. I mean, she was brilliant, and come to
Wow.
find out, she had won all sorts of awards. And so she starts telling me the story. Well, what I didn't tell her was, I'm like, I'm getting choked up because a couple months prior, I had gotten a call from Wounded Warrior Project, and they had asked me about getting a service dog. Well, that's a longer story, but basically they had talked about getting me a service dog, and it was going to take between 2.5, 3 years to get it. And I was heartbroken. And when she started telling me this, I was like, I got to tell you my backstory. I start sharing with her the backstory of how they were talking about getting me a service dog. And she drops to her knees. She starts crying. She says, Eric, this is the reason you're here. She says, do you want to meet Ciarra? And at that moment, I says, what do you mean? And she said, I've got her over here in the van. She goes over, she lets her out of the van. And Ciarra, I mean, she had these, they were bigger than my hand. She had
Wow.
mitts. I
Yeah.
mean, they were huge. And she gets out of the car, and she has this beautiful fur, and her eyes are just gorgeous. And she just puts her mitts right on my shoulders, and she starts lapping kisses on me. At that moment, I bent down, and the keys to my car were in my pocket. My car alarm went off, and the lady goes to me, Eric, this is amazing. I said, what are you talking about? She says, well, what I didn't tell you was Ciarra was a bomb sniffing dog in the special forces before I got her. She was 1 hour from being euthanized. And she said one of her triggers is car alarms and cell phones. And she said she didn't even flinch. She chose you as her safe place. She said, the question is, did you choose her? And I was like, oh my God, I chose her when you told me the story. And that was the meeting. I went back to my hotel that night, and I wrote the song "Tears of Joy." It's on my album, and it's about how her and I were both military, and how we both saved each other's life. And from that moment on, I mean, we were a team to be reckoned with. It just, she just captured my heart. Yeah,
And again, how could you not fall in love with such a beautiful, loving creature like that that responds that way? And it almost sounds like Eric, you chose each other. I mean, it's interesting that she came into your life at that time in the sense that you talk about in a book about the fact that at that point in life you had you attempted to commit suicide three different
yes,
times, and then
correct,
your
yes,
marriage breaks up after 25 years, and to have
yeah.
such a loving creature, you must have been feeling very alone, I'd imagine, at that time, and to know you now have this new friend and she's like there for you.
Yeah, and you're right. It was that instant, unconditional love. And like, I've known a lot of people over my lifetime, and I've been with a lot of people, but it was that thing that, like, you just knew. Like, I mean, I say we were probably, like, connected in utero. Like, even
Yeah,
before she was born, I knew it. I mean, it was just one of them connections, and people saw it. People saw it. I mean, Tom could tell you. Tom met Ciarra,
sure.
and I mean, at a couple of my concerts, and just absolutely, she just loved people. She just was such an amazing, and she understood people. That was the whole thing. I think that's what really connected with me, and that's what really drew me, because she connected so well, and I instantly knew,
Yeah, yeah,
I was gonna be okay,
yeah.
and my
I
future. I
mean,
knew I knew
yeah.
my future.
I
Yeah,
seen I seen what Tom wrote about Ciarra in the book, and I don't have it right here in front of me, but it was some of the fact that that he fell in love with her too. The minute he met her, and every time he'd see her, it was a fun
yeah.
experience. And it's interesting too, like that you came into her life at that time when she was just about ready to become euthanized. I mean, can you imagine? And the, the the number of years she had left, after that.
It that is, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I'll get into more of that in the book. But we actually, I ever since I heard that, my heart was my heart was on a mission, because
Oh,
I knew that I had to change what happened. And she was only going to be euthanized because she was a military dog, and we're actually working on legislation to stop military dogs from being euthanized and to give them a spot in Arlington Cemetery to be buried. And because they're veterans themselves, they're heroes, and there's a lot more in that legislation, but we're actually working. I've been working on that since I met Ciarra. And right now it's actually in motion. So I'm hoping within the next year or so to be up in DC to sit down with them and to go in front of Congress to present.
And that's the legislation you've been working on, right?
Yes, yeah,
And I'll just tell you
exactly.
right now, here, Eric, because I am such a animal lover myself. Anytime you want to come back and talk about that to further promote what you're working, we'd be more than happy to have you back.
I
And talking
appreciate that.
about
Yeah,
your music, okay, the song "Tears of Joy." Um,
yeah,
I got to share with you. Okay, typically I'm a guy that's into hard rock and metal, so it's not what I typically listen to. But I got to tell you, maybe it's because I knew what the song was about. Because to me, a good song is a good song. What I mean by that is, as much as I love hard rock and metal, I've also listened to everything from Tom Petty to the Eagles and Aerosmith, because you know
yes,
what? Great music, and reason those artists have been on the radio for 40 or 50 years, they got great songs. And I think listening to your lyrics and your knowing that it was about Ciarra, it really touched me because it's a song I can tell literally taken like it's a page out of your life. And
yeah,
the lyrics are really heartfelt.
yeah, absolutely. And to add to that part, I'll tell you a story. I was in the studio and I was recording, and this isn't.
In
I
the
didn't
book.
get this far in the book, but I was in the studio, and when I was recording my album Free, um, she ended up passing away. I won't
Ah,
tell you how because I want to save that for the book.
okay.
But she ended up passing away suddenly, and I called my producer and I said, "Listen," I told him what happened. I says, "We got to get in the studio and record Tears of Joy. We weren't on that song yet, and I wanted it to be raw and from the heart because that's some of the greatest songs that have come from ones when they've recorded, when it's heartfelt. And I went in the studio, we recorded it, and nobody but myself really can probably hear it on there. But if you listen real close, there's a part in the one verse that my I could tell my throat starts to crack. And when I did that, I said to my producer, I said, well, I said that I said, I know I was starting to crack at that point. And he says, Eric, he says, that's gonna make the song
Mhm.
because he said that is really the heart of what the song is about. And he says people will be able to feel that when they listen to it,
Yeah.
and that's what makes a great song, I think, and a great artist is someone that can tell a story and they can take a person from where they're at to another place that either helps them or makes them happy or whatever it is, and that's part of what that does.
And that song is a great tribute to Sierra, and your memories of her and your time you spent with her. And I imagine, because I can relate because I'm a dog lover. Like I said, I've had many dogs that have, that I've lost over the years. And people laugh when I might be saying this, but it's very emotional. I've heard people, oh, it's just an animal, it's just a dog. No, it was a big part of my life. Um,
Yes,
and it sounds crazy to say
absolutely.
maybe, but I feel like it's not quite the same, but like losing a child or somebody you really love, even though
Oh
it is
yeah,
just an animal, it was a big part of your life.
you lose a family member, you lose a part of your heart,
Yeah.
and here's the thing, I there was that the week that she passed away, when I called up my producer, I actually wrote a final verse, and in the final verse it says, when heaven's gates swung open wide and you came prancing in, all of glory sang a song for the hero they accepted in. First you served your country with pride, then you made your mark on earth by being right there by my side through all the joys and dirt. And she really did. And she was, I know at that moment,
Yeah.
she was there. And as hard as it was, people were asking me, they're like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, what are you talking about? What am I going to do? And they're like, well, you don't have Ciarra anymore. And I was like, here's the thing, she had taken me from a place that we were just talking about. She had taken me from the depths of something so bad, you know. I mean, and she had brought me to a place that I can actually function in society. I can, it was just amazing. I was like, it's going to be bigger than ever now because I said, you know, I said, I'm going to show people that here is what she did, and we're going to share her story because the whole thing is, you know, there's other people out there a lot of times, and honestly, when I got her, I kid you not, like I think service dogs were a new thing in like in society.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people didn't understand, they didn't know about them, they didn't really like what do we do, you
Mhm.
know, it was so new. And so, you know, we would go into restaurants, and they would look at me, and I says, listen, I said, she's probably better than some of your customers that'll be coming in. I said she is so well behaved. She would sit there, and I get a steak dinner. They'd set the dinner down, and she wouldn't even budge. I mean, she just, like, she was so amazing. And you know, and sometimes when she was underneath the table, sometimes she'd pop her head out, and like some older customer people like, I didn't even know she was underneath there. She was just so well behaved. She was such an amazing, you know, she just brought like, she made you happy.
Sure, yeah.
She
You get
just
happy
makes you
just
happy.
talking about her, you know, and I see that about you. And, you know, to me, it's amazing because animals are really smart. Like I said, I have three
Yes.
dogs myself, and it's funny, like, they just know certain things. And like, I notice each day my dogs, when I come home, right away they want to go on a walk. One will start barking. It's almost like they're talking to each other, but then the other will start jumping up on the couch,
What
running
kind of
around.
dogs are they?
Well, I got one's a cockapoo, and then two are
Oh,
chihuahua. I
really?
got a miniature black chihuahua, and she's the oldest one. She thinks she's a little boss dog. The other dogs follow her
That's
around,
awesome.
and what I get a kick out of, so then the little one that can't jump on the couch, she starts barking, and they're letting us know, hey, it's time to go. We want to go on a walk. And the funny thing too is, so they're like, told my wife, you know what? They're talking to each other like we are. They're telling
Yeah.
each other, hey, it's time. And when we take them on a walk, it's funny because, like I said, they have a pecking order, you know, because they're packed animals. And so I was reading a book that says when you have more than one dog that lives in the house, there's usually like a boss dog, and they all kind of
Yes,
accept
that
accept
is
that.
true.
And it's funny because when we're walking, all three of them are like running side by side, trying to see which one can get in the front.
Yeah, I know. And
Yeah,
then sometimes they take turns, I think.
yeah, yeah.
They
And it's
they,
funny.
they
I
kind of
know
like,
little things that people might laugh at, but it just amazed me. Like, one will go smell a certain patch of dirt, and the other two have to smell the same spots before we can move on. You know, just certain things.
that is very true.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is, they all have their own character. They really
yeah,
do. And and it's so, it's neat to see the banter between them all, you know, and
yeah,
how they bounce off of one another with their character, you know.
yeah,
It really is.
yeah.
I
You
mean,
know,
even with Ciarra, like I had two or three dogs, and it was amazing to see them interacting together, you know. And even though she was a big dog, the other
yeah,
two were smaller, like you said, you
yeah,
know, there was one dog, her name was Sophie, and she was tiny, but she was the leader. Like, and Ciarra, when we were at the house,
yeah,
Ciarra knew that. Like everything, like she would, you know, she would look after Ciarra. She was a mother. She was a mother to her too. But when we were out, Ciarra was on point. She knew when she was out, she was taking care of me. I mean, we would go into rooms, Jason, I kid you
yeah,
not, we would go into rooms, and the first thing she's doing, she's surveying the room,
yeah,
and she looks where all the exits and all the entrances, the only place that people can get in, she's making sure that she has my back. And I kid you not, I mean, it was like, people would be like, what's she doing? I'm going, she's taking care of me, because that's what she would do. She would, and then she'd turn and she'd face
yeah, yeah,
wherever the entrance was. She wanted to make sure that nobody came close unless I wanted them there. And she
yeah,
would,
yeah.
you know,
You
she
know,
would notify me.
yeah, it's funny. Maybe because we are dog lovers, we notice all these little things. But like you're saying, the fact that I have three dogs too. Another thing I notice is, like you said, they will learn different behaviors from each other. Like,
Yeah.
the one little dog, Gracie, the black Chihuahua. She for years, like, you give her a dog treat, she doesn't want it. She'll bury and hide it for later. the other two never used to do that. They started doing the same
Ah,
thing.
yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
they even pick up bad habits.
yeah,
Yes, you're right.
and not even bad habits, but it's just funny that oh, he never used to do it. He's copying what the other dog is doing, and it just kind of funny to watch. And then Gracie, the little black Chihuahua I've had the longest, she's about 16 years old, and she's kind of slowing down. But it's amazing. A couple of years ago, we thought she's at the point where she was going to die, and we got her some more. We got her two other dogs because she previously had another dog she was really close to. She loved him, and they grew up together, and they were always sleeping next to each other and following each other and kissing each other. But he died, one day, sadly. He suffered from like COPD type of illness, and and all of a sudden he wasn't there, and she got so depressed she stopped eating. She was looking all over for her friend, and
Yeah, yeah.
and then
They
we got
know.
another dog, and she rejected it first because it wasn't her friend. But
Yeah,
now they just love each other, and it,
yeah.
it like brought her back to life. I don't know what it is. Yeah,
That is awesome. That is really awesome. And I want to say something before I forget.
sure.
So, and this will go back to part of what we were talking about earlier. If anyone wants information, now we have, along with doing the legislation, I have a petition that I'm having people sign, and also anyone that needs the crisis hotline and stuff, you can go to my website at ericanesmusic.com. All of it's right there. Press one button. Actually, the link for the book is there too. But I
Okay,
wanted to make sure that people had for the crisis hotline, and some other organizations that are really great. We try to help them, but I wanted people to have a one-stop shop to where they can go and they can check out these
sure.
things. And I want people to understand too, that they're not alone. That it's one of those things. And Tom's a great one for this because him and Held Hostage, we've done so many benefit concerts and stuff. I mean, they're so good about working with veterans and veteran organizations and stuff. And Aaron from 60 for 60, Mohawk Run, we just got some great organizations that we work with over the years, and it's just so wonderful to be able to give back because I know what it was like. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I never want anyone to feel that way,
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
that I did,
yeah.
and
And
it doesn't discriminate, Jason.
Tom has always, been big on supporting the veterans. I know for many years, and part of the reason for that is that I'm sure you're aware, but a couple of his band members actually
Yes.
committed suicide. So it's really near and
Yes.
dear to him. Yeah,
That is very true. Yeah, yeah, I know and he's I don't know I don't know when Tom sleeps, dude. I mean, this
right.
guy he
Between
is 24/7, I think.
between his record company, his band, 40
His
years,
public he's
and
got a
now
publishing company. He
real
promotes
estate.
like I'm like, what?
In fact, before the interview today, Eric, I was just calling him on the phone to remind him I was going to be interviewing you today, and he said, oh, tell him I said hi." But he said Eric's really a great guy, and he was sharing some of his memories with about Ciarra. But he said, yeah, he's telling me that you and him go way back. So yeah,
Yeah.
and in fact, he was today when I was talking to him. He goes, "I'm just waiting for these people who want to buy a house, waiting to meet them." Yeah,
He's everything. He's a realtor. He's a publicist. He's a
making a new record as we speak. So he's hosting
no kidding.
a new podcast, which is fun for
I
him.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, I saw you guys that was awesome. I know. I'm looking forward to it. That was pretty cool. That was a great interview you guys had. Yeah,
yeah.
I
It
got to
really
see that
was. And
one.
what's fun is he wanted to do a practice session, so we put up like a little preview episode, and it just went crazy viral. We didn't even have a guest.
Yeah. But what I love about Tom, and this is huge. I mean, Tom is such a family man. Like his held hostage family, we're all family to him, and it's just so amazing. Tom has been such a good friend. I mean, we've been able to go fishing together. We've been, but he always is looking out for us. I mean, I've had times to when I would call Tom up and, dude, I was like, I can't believe this happened. He's like, okay, hold on,
In
we'll
fact,
figure it out.
yeah, I got to share
It,
with you, Eric. In my communication with Tom and set up the interview, I had originally kind of I misunderstood, but so I asked him today when I talked. I said, I want to make sure, Tom, before I do the interview, the book and his album, is that through Fire Rock? Tom's label said, "Oh no, Eric's putting it out on his own." He goes, "So I want to make that clear." He says, "But I set up Interview Jason because he's really a great guy, and I want to help him promote his stuff." So Tom is all about helping his friends.
He really is. He really is. In fact, I don't know if you remember. Okay, so back when you and Tom first started This Is Metal, or
Uh,
when he started co-hosting with you, I don't know if you remember. I want to say it was the first program, but my wife Donna was having a birthday. And
okay.
I asked him if he would give a shout out.
Oh,
Well, he
okay.
did, and you did. That's my wife, Donna Marie.
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
if you remember that, but that was my wife. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah,
And,
yeah. And I think
yep.
he had mentioned during that episode, if I remember, that you had got up at one of his concerts and on stage or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I asked her to marry me on stage,
Oh, that's
and
it. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, I asked her to marry me on stage. And on my album, there's a song called Angel of Love. That was the song I wrote for that moment. Yeah, for her. And yeah, yeah, absolutely. That
And
was
so,
that
Eric,
was
the
really
album
cool.
is called Free, right? And can people get that
Yep.
off the website too?
Yes, they sure can. They can get it off the website. They can go to ericainsmusic.com. That's all on there. We got t-shirts. We got all sorts of merchandise on there as well. Check it out. And I would say that's a great like starting point to stay updated on everything with us.
Well, I
Our
will tell
our
you,
our
Eric, it was
social
great.
media is good.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. In fact,
Yeah,
I'm going to send you a private email later. 'Cause I got a great idea that I came up just talking to you today that I want to see if
sure.
you'd be interested in doing.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but
Yeah, and if you ever want anything else, let me know. I'd love to, reach out, help you out in
yeah, in
whatever way,
fact,
and
what I'm already going to offer to do right off the back so people can hear it is today, obviously, I want to talk about Ciarra because I thought she was kind of the star of a book, or a big
right.
part of it, anyways. And next time, I'd like to have you come back and we talk specifically about, the album and some of the songs once I get a chance to hear the whole album. Um,
That'd
so,
be awesome. Yeah.
so we
Yeah, and
will.
if you ever need a what do you call it? Almost a guest host. I'd love to host
Okay,
with you
well,
once in a
on
while.
that subject, let me ask you. I also do
Okay.
I'll send you a clip later, well, actually, an episode so you can check it out.
Okay.
I also do a pop culture show. It's called Jrock's Pop Culture Revolution, where we talk about all kinds of things like pop culture. I love to talk about classic TV shows, old movies. Um,
Oh my God. Yeah, that's
so
cool.
I was thinking, to kind of make it interesting for people from time to time, I'm going to start having guest hosts. So maybe I could have you as a guest host from time to time.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Would you love to
yeah.
talk about stuff like that, like Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, or any number of
Oh
things?
my gosh, that's so fun. Dukes of Hazzard, all
Okay.
those. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're great shows. Yeah, I love
okay, I'll tell
that.
you what.
I would love
So I
that.
will send you an email later, my friend, and you can like just make me a brief list of some of the things you would maybe want to talk about in an episode, and we could
Sure.
make an episode around that. And this interview, because I just posted some today, but I'm going to have it up by tomorrow morning. I will
Okay.
I will send it to you through Facebook because you're on Facebook too, right?
I'm on Facebook. Yes.
Okay, and so I'll send
Yep.
you the link, and you're welcome to share it. And we're definitely gonna have you back, Eric, especially for some of those guest shots now. And I know you're into that.
Sounds awesome. Yes,
'Cause,
absolutely. Thanks a lot, Jay.
yeah, I'm going to close on this because I just want you to know. Tom told me, which he's always right about everything he says. He says, Jason, Eric's going to make a great interview because he loves to talk. And
I
Eric, I
do. I've
found,
never had an issue with that.
and I found that those are the best interviews. I kid you not. I interviewed a guitar player pretty well known. He's played with people like Sharon that, and
Sure.
you wouldn't believe though. I had to end it after a couple of seconds because everything was just yes, no. Okay, thank
Oh, it's very monotone. Yeah.
you. Yeah, thank you. Have a
Yeah,
nice
I've
day.
never had an issue talking. He's very right about that. Yes.
Well, that's great because people are going to love this. I just know it. I will talk to
Well, a
you
lot of
definitely.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Take care, my friend. Bye bye.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Jace.